ball here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals off to a great start at 10-5. They look for a sweep today against the Mets. The Mets are 6-8. Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin with you. Welcome to the broadcast booth. And so far, so good. Pitching has been a story so far, too.
That's right. Starting pitching sets the tone. And Wellemeyer in the first game of this series could have been a little more efficient, gave up far too many hits, could have gone deeper. When you talk about deeper in the game, Pinheiro was spectacular.
So, Joel Pinheiro, Todd Wellemeyer, they say goodbye. We say hello to Kyle Loge. This will be his 7th start this afternoon against the Mets in his career. Loge, Livan Hernandez. That's this afternoon, but when we come back, a look at the Mets history with Pat Barris. Welcome back to Busch. Well, the Mets have shelled out some serious money over the last 3 seasons, and with an expensive relief corps and an even more expensive new ballpark back home, expectations couldn't be higher. But the Mets have a history of coming through when they're counted out. Pat Barris has more.
In 1968, the Mets finished in 9th place, an embarrassing record for some teams perhaps, but not the Mets. It was the best they'd finish in any of their first 7 seasons. Only once had they been above 500 past the 3rd game of the year. When the 1969 baseball season opened, the Mets' odds of winning the pennant were 100-1. But with a pitching staff made up of Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, and a fastballer from Texas named Nolan Ryan, they would find themselves in a season-long struggle for first place. They defied the odds and won 38 of their last 49 games. They took the East by 8 games, took out the Atlanta Braves, and took on the heavily favored Baltimore Orioles. They weren't supposed to be in the World Series, and they weren't supposed to beat the best team in baseball if you gave them a chance against Baltimore. But great pitching and defense helped the Miracle Mets win the World Series.
2-1 pitch, fly ball, deep left field. Jones is back to the fence. World Series is over. Jones makes the catch.
In 1986, the Mets were supposed to be good, and they would finish that 86 season with 108 wins. But the Mets weren't supposed to beat the Red Sox in the World Series, not after finding themselves down 3-2, down by 2 in the 10th, with 2 outs and 2 strikes. But with no expectations, they stayed alive. Singles by Gary Carter and Kevin Mitchell got the fans at Shea on their feet. Ray Knight, down to his last strike, singled to center to score Carter. Now down 5-4, Mookie Wilson, also with 2 strikes, saw a pitch from Boston pitcher Bob Stanley get away, tying the game at 5-5. And the rest is history.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Fast forward to 2007. Expectations were high with the addition of Cy Young Award winner Johan Santana. Instead, the Mets became the first team in baseball history to blow a lead of 7 or more games with only 17 games left in the season. 2008, first year with new manager Jerry Manuel. Last year in Shea Stadium, the Mets were eliminated from playoff contention by losing on the season's final day for the 2nd straight season. Now it's 2009. The Mets, with the additions of 2 new closers and a 500 home run hitter, are, unlike 1969 and 1986, expected to win, which begs the question, will high expectations lead to more frustrations?
All right, Pat, thank you very much. The Mets on the verge of getting swept this afternoon. More from Busch coming up. First batter of our game flies out to right, and that's Ryan Ludwig, and Jose Reyes is retired, and we're underway here at Busch Stadium. Glad you're with us. Kyle Loge gets the start for St. Louis, and a look at his last pitch to the leadoff man, Jose Reyes.
Well, gets him, jams him, a little pop-up out to right field, and a good start for Loge, who usually, when he pitches here, usually means a Cardinal victory.
A little bit of a short outing last time out for Loge, but more times than not, wearing this Cardinal uniform, Al, he has just been spectacular. Not good, but spectacular.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating in Chicago, where he only went 5 innings. He left 5 runs. You can see his record is 2-0 on the season, a good ERA, even with that poor outing.
An opponent's only hitting 176 against him. And those numbers brought to you by Marshall Wireless. We saw Alex Cora part of a double switch late last night, and he'll get the start today. Castillo is on the bench for Jerry Manuel. The Mets trying to avoid a sweep. That's on the inside corner. And when he is right, you see in and out. You don't see a lot over the middle of the plate.
Well, I think he can pick up the pace from what Pinheiro did. You got another guy with a good sinker.
And that's all that Yadier Molina was calling last night, and Joel Pinheiro later would say, I barely even shook him off, if at all. I don't remember, but all it was sinker after sinker, and today it's Jason LaRue. He's behind the plate for the Cardinals. 2-2 pitch.
Keep the ball at the low part of the strike zone. On occasion, you'll change the eye angle by running the ball up, but predominantly keep it down, get those ground ball outs. Pinheiro didn't have a recorded strikeout, but an awful lot of ground ball outs.
It's a gorgeous afternoon here in St. Louis. 74 degrees here in town. The summer is just around the corner, so we have a few weeks before that, and it is beautiful.
Pinheiro late in that ball game yesterday where he went 8+ innings, retired 13 consecutive batters, and really set the tone.
And it wasn't strikeouts, it was pitching to contact, and that's one of the reasons that his pitch count was low. This is out to right center, and it hops over the wall. A ground rule double over the head of Ricky Ankiel, and Cora is in scoring position here in the first. Let's take a look at this Mets lineup. It's a good one, and that's why you give the Cardinals pitching staff credit in this series. Reyes, Cora, Beltran here in the first. Delgado, Wright, and then Gary Sheffield, his 500th career home run against the Brewers this past week. Brian Church, Omir Santos, and Livan Hernandez.
And a little surprising that Joey Cora, hit that ball, or Alex Cora, excuse me, hit the ball as far as he did. Not noted for power, and got the head over the head of Ankiel.
What is going through the mind right now of Kyle Loesch? Because Carlos Beltran has just killed him in his career. He's 18 for 34, a .529 batting average. He's got 3 doubles, 4 home runs. He's walked 9 times. First base is open, even though it is here in the first. You've fallen behind now, 2 balls, no strikes. Again, it's early, but do you think about just not even pitching to him?
Well, as a pitcher, a lot of times you don't want to concede anything like that, but you're well aware of what he's done. The worst thing you do is fall behind the count, and you make him that much more dangerous.
And that's a strike. 2-1. On deck is Carlos Delgado.
What you got to do is just throw the ball down, allow him to hit the ball, and hopefully it's on the ground.
But as a pitcher, Al, there are certain guys that just have very good success against you for one reason or another, and you worry about that. There it is, the base hit by Beltran into right. Cora is going to be held up at third. So now 19 for 35 is Beltran against Kyle Loesch. Good strong throw from Ludwig.
Yeah, just get that ball aggressively, get it back to the infield, just stop the runner. But that is also the 6th hit in 8 plate appearances for Beltran in this series. But Alex Cora cannot score, so you still have the double play in order. You've got a way to escape this inning.
And it brings in Delgado.
Interesting scenario here with the shift on with Delgado, but Barden, the third baseman, can't play as far over, can't go to the shortstop position where they were playing in the previous 2 games because he's got a runner at third base.
Delgado already with 14 RBIs. That's in the top 5 of the National League. And he looks at a ball a little bit low. Some of these pitches aren't missing by much here for Kyle Loesch. Glad you're with us. Dan McLaughlin, Al Hrabosky with you, and our Fox Sports Midwest crew. Runners at the corners. The shift is on here for Delgado. Brian Barton is at third, trying to keep that runner close. Shortstop today is Brendan Ryan, and that's a balk, and it's 1-0 Mets. Tony La Russa on the top step of the dugout trying to figure it out why.
Well, there's Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire, is the only one that called it and said it was the knee. Made it didn't step towards the plate and not towards third base. It's such a routine play, and I think Loesch was just so casual in doing it that he's called for the balk, and now he's in jeopardy of getting tossed in this game.
Let's take a look here. Did he go towards the plate?
You know, it's so slight, and it's like, you know, it wasn't even a good move. It wasn't a one really trying to deceive a runner at all, and the only umpire that called it was the home plate umpire. That's in the past. Took a step back there, kind of regroup, and don't let that affect the rest of the inning.
So 1-0 on Delgado after the balk by Kyle Loge and a 1-0 lead. Delgado hitting .278 this year. Runner at second now. And a swing and a miss. Some day baseball around the major leagues. Royals and Indians, Brewers, Phillies. Keep an eye on those two games. The Mets already have struck first with a balk by Kyle Loge. You know, more times than not, it needs to be pretty pronounced towards the plate. I'm not sure we saw that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And you know, if you're trying to, you know, put an A move out there and you're trying to really deceive a runner, that's one thing. But when you're really not in a running situation, you're just kind of doing it half-heartedly. You know, sometimes you kind of question, is that the right time to call it? And it was, you know, borderline at best.
Greg Gibson, our home plate umpire, and this is hit out to left center. Over to get it, and Keel. He'll make the catch. They won't test his arm.
A little snow cone there at the end of it, as I think he was looking to see if there was going to be a throw.
Look at the Cardinals defense behind Loge today. Rasmus, another start. He's in left, and Keel and Ludwig. Barton, Ryan, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield. And Loge and LaRue the battery. Cardinals off to a very good start here at home in 2009. And you just saw the graphic. 11-3 are the Cardinals for Loge here at home.
Kind of took his eye off it a little bit, up in the high in the webbing, as he looked to see if he needed to make a snap throw.
Here's David Wright with Sheffield on deck. You could see where this offense, you know, over the course of 6 months, is going to be very good. When you have Reyes and Castillo, Beltran, Delgado, Wright, you mix in a Sheffield, some pretty big names.
Well, and they got that, you know, the speed of Castillo and Reyes. You know, got good RBI in the middle of the order.
A little bit low, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Hit the long ball. This team's going to score a lot of runs.
The thing is, now they're playing catch up here in the first couple of weeks because Florida is off to a very fine start at 11-4. Atlanta and everybody else, Philly, New York, Washington, all below the 500 mark.
But Florida just lost 3 straight to Pittsburgh. They were 11-1 when that series started.
Pittsburgh a game out in the Central along with Chicago. Pittsburgh at 9-6. The Cubs at 8-5. The Cardinals already with 10 wins. They're 10-5.
6 straight wins here at home.
Well, that's the thing. If you're going to have success, you have to win at home and hopefully play 500 on the road. Go back to 2004 under Tony La Russa. One of the best road teams we've seen in a long time here in St. Louis. 1-2 the count. And just stays alive. David Wright, 2-time Gold Glover, made a couple of great plays already in this series at third base defensively. And he's coming off a fantastic year as far as RBIs. 3 for 10 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. So far this year, he had 124 RBIs last year. And 267 at bats with runners in scoring position, most in the majors a year ago.
You know, Dan, a lot of times you'll go down and you'll stand next to one of the modern players and you're just marvel at the size. David Wright is a little bit surprising because you would think he'd be so much bigger with his ability to hit home runs, drive in runs, but you know, he's not that big. He's just a very good athletic player.
You know what it is, Hal? It's bat speed too. He's got tremendous bat speed. 1-2. Popped up. Shallow center. Who wants it? Ankiel coming on. It's called for, though, by the second baseman, and Schumacher will make the catch and holds on as he was knocked into by Ankiel. So Schumacher makes the play. Lowe's is trying to figure out the balk. Skip Schumacher will lead things off for the Cardinals. Schumacher, Rasmus, and Pujols here in the first against Livan Hernandez. Livan Hernandez still going here in the major leagues. He's bounced around a little bit, but rubber arm, and here he is, 1-0 already for the Mets. And his numbers brought to you by Marshall Wireless. That's outside, 2 balls, no strikes. On that last play, you have to wonder who takes charge as Schumacher makes the catch. You have a shortstop, though. You're hoping that will take charge, or the center fielder coming in. The easiest play is for him coming in.
Well, yeah, you always like to have the center fielder take charge, but you have to have voice commands. And obviously, Schumacher did not hear Ankiel call him off.
And that's a strike, 3-1. Either way, the catch was made, and we move now to the bottom of the first. 1-0 Mets, and the balk by Cal Loge. He was still looking for an explanation. Here's a grounder hit to second, handled by Alex Cora. And the first man retired, and it brings in Rasmus. Let's take a look at the Cardinals lineup here this afternoon. Schumacher, Rasmus, and Pujols. Colby Rasmus was 2 for 3 with a run scored, then replaced late by Ludwig. Ludwig will bat cleanup, then Ankiel, Barton, Ryan LaRue, and Kyle Loge. One thing the Cardinals have done consistently this year since opening day, they've hit. Here's a grounder, and again Cora tested to his left, 2 away. That brings in Albert Pujols with 2 outs, nobody on. The Mets defense, Sheffield, Beltran, and Church. On the infield, right, Reyes, Cora, and Delgado. And the battery here this afternoon, Livan Hernandez and Omir Santos. The Mets defense, as always, all season long, brought to you by the good folks at Auto Tire. Brings in Pujols, who was 8 for 29 with 4 walks against Hernandez. He also owns a home run against him. Albert on the year hitting .315, 4 home runs and 18 RBIs. 3 for 7 in this series. First pitch to him on the outside corner. Hernandez is one of those guys, as we've seen in the past, that can get it up into the 90s, but then all of a sudden he'll just float one in there about 70 miles an hour. Really changes speeds well.
It's hard to believe that he's listed as only 34 years of age. Villa Clara, Cuba, came as a defector.
Pujols hits it into deep right field, to the track, to the wall, out of here. We're tied up, 1-1. Pujols 5th of the season, 19th RBI. Opposite field shot for Albert.
Albert leads the National League in RBIs, adds to it with his 19th. Ties Ludwig in home runs with 5. And just like that, we have a tie ball game. Set up outside. Hernandez just going to throw strikes, and Albert is going with the pitch, and that ball just rode right out of here with plenty to spare.
So second home run for Albert Pujols against Livan Hernandez, and a strike at the knees to Ludwig. Hernandez also one of those guys that doesn't waste much time, and he's not looking to pitch around anybody.
No, and he's pitching to contact. You know, used to be a real innings eater.
Here's a breaking ball hit to short, backhanded by Reyes, long throw, and they get Ludwig by a step. Pujols with his 5th home run here in 2009, measured at 386 feet. And with that opposite field home run, we're tied up. It's 1-1 after 1. Day baseball in St. Louis. Baseball is brought to you by Bud Light. With just the right taste, it never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town, choose Auto Tire. We shop the competitors so you don't have to. And by Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. Here's Gary Sheffield. He's 3 for 8 against Kyle Loge. Nice shot of that statue outside of Busch Stadium.
I think that's such a special feature, those Harry Weber statues. And
boy, how good is he, huh?
Oh, outstanding. And I was talking with some of the Mets broadcasters, and one of the things they were talking about, the new,
City Field?
City Field is, they said, you know, the Jackie Robinson Rotunda is spectacular.
Big number, blue 42.
And the, you know, and the grand entrance to it is unbelievably spectacular. But one of the things they were disappointed in is there's nothing about the Mets beyond that.
Got to have something about the Amazons, huh?
Yeah, and I mean,
1986 certainly comes to mind.
Just no reference, and the point that they were making is, you look at Busch Stadium and all the tributes to the great Cardinal players of the past, and those statues are no better example.
Here's a 3-1 to Sheffield. He rips it down the left field line with that quick bat, and that is foul. Touched by a fan, but certainly a foul ball. 3-2, and still Gary Sheffield out with this timing mechanism, can get into some pitches.
Yeah, he can just turn on a pitch. He's over 40 now. He's one of only 3 major league players to hit a home run as a teenager and then to hit a home run, you know, in your 40s. And of course, his last one was number 500. You know who the other 2 were? Rusty Staub and Ty Cobb.
And you think about when he first came up, he was a shortstop. Sheffield, right center on the move. Rick Ankiel, can he get there? Dives! Oh, what a play from Rick Ankiel! Outstanding in center field.
You know, sometimes today's players play for the highlight reel.
Wow!
And you see them dive when they don't need to. But that was flat out just an outstanding play. Raced back as far as he could, got to the point where he needed to dive just to get that extra extension, and that is as good as you can. And how many times you see a guy catch the ball and then have it pop out when he makes contact? Rick not only, you know, catches this ball in the webbing, but then holds on it, fully extended, you know, left right at the exact moment he had to get the apex.
And that's a swing and a miss. I mean, we just forget, and there are going to be kids that grow up watching the Cardinals right now that look at Rick Ankiel as a center fielder and as an everyday player, as in a guy that hits for power. And people will forget, young fans undoubtedly, I will forget, this guy was one of the best pitching prospects to come out of high school in a long, long time. And we saw his debut in Montreal. And now here he is as an everyday player. And what a play this is from Rick Ankiel.
Well, remember also, he's a left-hander. So as he goes back here, this ball is going to kind of slice away from him ever so bit. And also because he's left-handed, he's got to backhand it. It's not like he can catch it, you know, with the glove on the left hand where the ball would come right to him. He's got to backhand it, all the tougher to hold on to it.
Outstanding play. Oh, baby, what a play. And here is Omir Santos, the 8th place hitter for the Mets. And he looks at a strike. Speaking of oh baby, you were getting talked about again with the St. Louis Blues. They wanted to know what the heck was going on. The players did. Today, before the game, they said, well, what do the players do now? Well, they go train. They get ready for next season. They go play some golf.
Boy, time has changed.
Yeah, they don't go find jobs. They go train for next year. What a year for the St. Louis Blues and John Davidson, who follows the St. Louis Cardinals. And John was telling me when they clinched in the playoffs that one of the first calls that he got was from manager Tony La Russa.
All right.
There's the 0-1 pitch, breaking ball, and a strike.
I can remember John Davidson when, after he left St. Louis as a player and went to New York, I'd look up in the bullpen at Shea Stadium, and
is that
on
right?
the second deck there was John, and saying, okay, where are we going tonight? I go, it's your town, big boy.
Here's a ground ball. Pujols on to second, but not in time to get Santos at first, but they do get the lead runner. If you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv and catch over 100 live out-of-market Cardinal games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. You can always go back and, I say catch 100 games because you can go back to any game and look at the highlights. Neat way to do it. Here's Livan Hernandez, the pitcher, and a very good hitting pitcher at that in his career. Backing up, Ludwig to make the catch. That inning highlighted by the play from Rick Ankiel in center field. Fully extended. 1-1 midway through 2. Al has a look at today's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, Livan Hernandez, when he retires the first batter, he's around the league average of runs he gives up for 9 innings. But when the first batter reaches the worst in Major League Baseball, as he just goes into double figures and runs allowed. And the Cardinals are pretty good with that on-base percentage and getting the first man on. So hopefully they can do that in this case.
Here's Rick Ankiel, the 1-0 pitch. Gets underneath it. Into shallow right field, backing up the second baseman, Cora. And there's one away, and it brings in Brian Barton.
Of course, in the first inning, things were reversed as Skip Schumacher led this game off with a ground ball, and then later on, Albert hit the solo home run.
Here's Brian Barton hitting .391, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. You forget he's only 28. Young man.
Picked up for waivers from Arizona a couple years ago, and his AAA numbers are pretty consistent and good.
It's something he can do. He's got pop in his bat, but also good speed. He can play second, short, or third. You saw right there the attempt, but then pulled back. But the possibility is there to maybe bunt his way on.
And well, sometimes it draws the infield in a little bit. They aren't that familiar with what Barton can do. He had the great road trip, 3 home runs, all 3, or his first 3 in his major league career on that last road trip.
Oregon State University product, and he chops one towards the middle, and Alex Cora has been busy here this afternoon. A part of 4 defensive plays this far. And it brings in Brendan Ryan. And Ryan is a guy that gives Tony La Russa some versatility as well. Can play second, short, where he's starting today, and also at third base. He has batted leadoff in this lineup for Tony, but today he's in the 7th spot for the Cardinals.
And he kind of provides a little energy to the ball club. Not quite sure what he's going to do, whether it's good or bad, but you know, he's always out there trying to make something happen.
27-year-old. Tripled and scored the go-ahead run Tuesday night. Also had a nice diving stop defensively. Was noted coming out of high school in Los Angeles as a top defender in the country.
I remember when he saved a ball game on the road trip with a late inning dive at second.
Very good defensively. Of course, you need that late innings, and with the way that Tony La Russa will play these games, many times starting Skip Schumacher, you have to have players like Barton and Thurston and Ryan that can play defense late innings. There's a 2-out walk, and it brings in LaRue. Jason LaRue, a little history with Livan Hernandez. He is 2 for 13.
Jason, the only position player over 30. And starting only his second game, but you know, he had his first game. He had a couple hits in it.
On a hop to short and a forced play at second. We have played 2. It's 1-1 here at Busch Stadium with the history on display just outside. Glad you're with us. It's Day Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Looking forward to this. The rivalry returns to St. Louis. The Cardinals face the Cubs tomorrow night on Fox Sports Midwest. Coverage starts at 6:30. Cardinals Live. Cardinals and Cubs tomorrow will be in high definition on Fox Sports Midwest. Dempster and Wainwright.
Good pitching matchup. Good teams going head to head, and should all season long be battling for the Central Division.
What do you think? You think most people looking at the first couple of weeks of the season are a little surprised with the Cardinals? Or is this just typical Tony La Russa taking what he's gotten and you know, making the most of it?
I kind of would think it would depend on what your knowledge as a Cardinal fan. If you're a knowledgeable one, you know Tony's teams are going to be competitive. If you're looking from the outside, you might kind of be a little bit surprised. But you know, this Cardinal team is far from perfect. But you know Tony's going to have them ready to play every day, and it's just a question, are they good enough?
Here's a 1-1 pitch. One thing they have done, though, starting rotation for the most part has pitched well.
Well,
you get that, you got a chance to win.
And what's helped out is the fact that they've scored, a lot of runs, and that helps that pitching staff out.
Reyes with a high fly ball into right. In front of the track, it's Ryan Ludwig. Let's check in for the first time this afternoon with Jim Hayes. Hello, Jim. Jim, what do you have for us?
Well, we're talking a little bit about Joel Pinero's performance. Dan got the win last night, 8 strong innings, 16 ground ball outs. The key was his sinker ball. Now, he had an injury plague last season, did Pinero. He rediscovered his sinker during spring training, and now he says he's going to be trusting it all year. The key with him is a sinker ball and the confidence in that pitch. Certainly he showed that last night.
Yeah, and I know you had a chance to go in the clubhouse after the game, and basically Joel was saying to you and to some of the other members of the media that he really didn't shake off Yadi or Molina, so those two are on the same page.
Absolutely. Trust is the key word. Obviously he's going to trust in Yadi, but everything that he went through last year, he had some leads that he surrendered. He went through some injuries. He lost his confidence. Now he's got it back. So he's been trusting in Yadi. Now he's trusting in himself and in his stuff.
How about him getting off to a 3-0 start, Jim? How confident right now is he in? Technically at the start of the season he was the number 5. If he's your number 5, you got a pretty good staff.
Well, with the injury to Carpenter, certainly the guys at the tail end of the rotation have to pick up the slack. I think he's done that, but he had a very good spring.
And here's a ground ball that's pulled foul. We'll check in with Jim momentarily.
Dan, I don't think that people really understand that camaraderie or relationship between a pitcher and a catcher. That WL goes behind the pitcher's name, but when you're preparing to throw a pitch and you look in and that catcher puts down exactly what you were thinking, that just reinforces the
good pitch. Tied him up in a strikeout, the first of the afternoon for Loge.
Just reinforces that pitch, and obviously Kyle was thinking slider. LaRue calls for the slider, and he throws a good one.
A couple of guys you know well. How about Gibson, McCarver?
Well, the interesting thing was they were on such a page that Bob balked a lot, for a guy that you would think. And oftentimes, Bob would start his windup, look in for the pitch selection, and say, "Oh, Timmy, that's not it. That's not what I was throwing." He was throwing his fastball, and Timmy called the slider, or vice versa. And he'd have to stop and would balk, but it didn't matter. He could pitch around it.
And you and Simmons, fastball, fastball, fastball.
Well, he put down one about 6 times, and I said, "Yeah, that's the one I wanted."
There's the strike at the knees, and it's Carlos Beltran. 2 outs. We're in the 3rd.
It's interesting sometimes such a great hitting catcher like Simmons, who really had no weaknesses but was a tremendous inside hitter.
Beltran rips it into right field over Ludwig and off the wall. And it's a 2-out double here in the 3rd. He's 2 for 2.
Simmons.
Carlos Beltran has had success against St. Louis. Against the Cardinals regular season, though. .235 hitter, but in postseason play, whether it be with Houston or New York, .353 with 7 home runs.
Well, it's hard to believe he's only had 2 3-hit games. One of them was when he was with Kansas City, and one was last night. Well, Beltran's well on his way with he's 2 for 2, and a single and now a double. So he is hot, as hot a hitter as we've seen right now against the Cardinals, and it's in the regular season.
And again, he has done this time and again against Kyle Loge in his career. Here's Delgado with 2 outs. Never know what you're going to get with Carlos Delgado last couple of Aprils because he's been off to slow starts. This year, though, a little bit better, in particular with those RBIs, as we noted early on. 14 already this season.
Amongst the league leaders, but 2 guys he's chasing is Ludwig and Pujols.
Looks at 1 outside, 2 balls, no strikes. On deck, David Wright. This is where this Mets lineup can really get you. Beltran, Delgado, and Wright. Then you mix in Gary Sheffield.
You got Delgado and Sheffield, both of them over 1,500 RBIs.
And last night, the first 6 in their lineup were hitting 300 or better. And yet, here's a team that's under the 500 mark. Now, the Cardinals catch a break. No Johan Santana, but their bullpen, as we've noted at the beginning of the series, came in highly touted after the money that they spent, and good numbers as well.
Especially, they still have the best ERA in major leagues for their bullpen. And it took a hit after game 1.
And that's ball 4. So a double and a walk. So first and second now for David Wright. Loge already at 52 pitches, and Livan Hernandez only at 21.
Well, one thing that Hernandez was smart enough to realize, what self-destructed the Mets starting staff was walks. First 2 games, each starter walked 5 and not going deep into games.
Runners at first and second now for David Wright. Coming off a terrific year last season, career highs in home runs, RBIs, and runs scored. He had 33 homers and 124 driven in for the 3-time All-Star and a 2-time Gold Glover. And out to visit, it's LaRue.
Looked like Loesch was a little upset with the umpire, and it wasn't the balk call, but that kind of set the tone, and then he didn't like the strike zone.
Time again for the Cardinals Alumni Kids Clinics. Boys and girls ages 7 to 13 can learn baseball fundamentals from former Cardinal greats Danny Cox, Rick Horton, John Mabry. Number to call 345-9891 or online at stlcardinals.com. 1 ball, 1 strike. Big Cardinal fan is Juanita Stone, 86 years old and watching us in Conway, Arkansas. So good afternoon to Juanita Stone, who never misses a game. I know Terry Bright is proud of Grandma Juanita Stone. 1-1 pitch. Outside, 2-1. It is hard to sweep, and the guys were talking about that, Al, on the pregame show, Cal and Pat. The fact is, not only trying to sweep, but you're trying to sweep a team that many expect to get into postseason play. Very good team in the Mets.
With Loesch on the mound, you got a good shot.
Wright sends that one to the seats for strike 2.
I'll make another one of those profound statements that you always enjoy. It's real hard to sweep when you lose the first game.
Can't argue with that. Great stuff again, Al.
Thank you, Dan.
2-2.
When you win the first 2, you're in position where you know you've won the series and you have to get greedy.
2-2 pitch to David Wright. Just got a piece. For the most part, he has been held in check in this ballpark. Mets about hit the Cardinals 4-1 so far. We're tied up 1-1 here in the top of the 3rd. Against Loge, he is 6 for 15 with a home run. Popped out to second his first time up.
3 for 9 in the series so far for Wright. This is a big at bat.
And he lines it into right field, making the catch, Ludwig. Loge out of a jam. He'll lead it off when we come back. It's 1-1. David Wright, Kyle Loge. That last confrontation there to send us to the bottom of the 3rd. And it was a line out, and Loge gets out of the jam. Last year for Livan Hernandez, he split time with Minnesota and Colorado. And Loge shoots one foul. 10-8 in Minnesota, 3-3 in Colorado. But this guy in his career has been an innings eater, going all the way back to 1998. That was his first full year in the big leagues. 234 innings. 8 times he has been above 200 innings for his career. That's lined out to Delgado. Nice play. Let's go pitch by pitch, Al. Brought to you by Chevrolet.
Remember, you have David Wright. There's 2 men on. So he starts him out with a slider off the plate. Comes back with another slider. This one doesn't get far enough away. Sinker that's down. Comes back with a slider. That one left that one over the middle of the plate. This one, another slider. And then the sinker that was in the middle of the plate, the line out to right field, and he wins the battle.
And it brings in Skip Schumacher, the Cardinals leadoff man, who was grounded out to second. 0 for 1 on the afternoon. 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You mentioned Hernandez doesn't throw as hard as he once did, but he'll work both sides of the plate, master changing speeds, and you're a little bit off balance.
Get the feeling that Skip is getting more comfortable defensively at second base. That takes an odd hop, but Delgado is there to tag out Skip. Coming up here at the ballpark on May 15th at 7:15, Milwaukee will make their way to St. Louis. First 25,000 fans, 21 and over, receive a Bud Light Cardinals t-shirt. Where tickets go to STLCardinals.com. You get that impression, though? I mean, you watch Skip taking the ground balls and BP, and obviously in game action, looks pretty comfortable.
Yes, I mean, I don't worry about him at all anymore. You know, hard worker, puts in his time. The coaching staff, you got to give them a lot of credit too. But I was in Italy in '97 during the World Series when LeBron was the MVP for the Florida Marlins and that World Series. But remember Eric Gregg back behind the plate, and wasn't it the wide strike zone that Hernandez took advantage of? And give him credit for taking advantage of it. Many people felt like there was no chance to hit pitches that were 6 to 8 inches outside that were being called strikes.
Levine and Orlando Hernandez, third pair of brothers to play for the Mets.
You remember Tom Glavine's brother?
I don't, and it's Mike Glavine and Roberto and Sandy Alomar. Do you remember Mike Glavine?
No.
Tom Glavine, of course.
Sure.
This is well hit, but that'll stay in the park in front of the track, and the catch made by Sheffield off the bat of Colby Rasmus, who is 0 for 2. 1-1 after 3. And we're back, and this is Gary Sheffield to start the 4th. It's 1-1. Sheffield, Church, and Santos for the Mets against Kyle Loge. Gary Sheffield was robbed by Rick Ankiel his first time up on one of the best defensive plays we've seen in all of baseball this year so far.
Outstanding running, diving, stretched out, and makes that catch.
There's a breaking ball a little high, and it's 2-1.
Mike Glavine was an infielder and played part of 1 year, 2003, with the Mets. Tom's brother.
2-1 pitch. Hot shot, and staying with it, Barton, plenty of time, a high throw, collision, and Pujols is fine, and the out at first. I don't like those collisions.
Forget about the out, you're going, he's okay.
Yep.
But nice stop. So Sheffield's been robbed twice by Cardinal defenders. This time it's Barton. Look at that backhand.
Smoked.
Stays right with it. You know, he squares up to it, so it stays right in the vicinity. And you know, Sheffield is an outstanding player. As you look at this ball, look at the spin on that, but it stayed right at his feet. And then Gary was just as worried about injuring himself or Albert.
There's Ryan Church. That last replay brought to you by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill, the Exmo Cam. Our home games here in St. Louis. Location 1 block south of the ballpark on Broadway. And that's a strike at the knees to Ryan Church. A lot of people wondering if Church will be an everyday player coming off concussions and different injuries over the years. And Jerry Manuel has said, you know, this is a guy we're going to stick with for a while. Let's see how he can do.
Well, they made that big trade to get him, and she said last season a couple times on the disabled list with the post-concussion syndrome. But you have to like the way he swings the bat.
We showed you Mike Matheny at the ballpark here last night, the former Cardinal catcher. That's on a hop and picked by Schumacher. Nice play. Skip Schumacher, an outfielder, converted to second base. Nice pick. Cardinal baseball this afternoon is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots in the country. That, partner, is a nice play.
Absolutely. Well, you know,
wow.
Skip all along said the reactionary plays, he had no trouble. He didn't have any trouble, and he had no time to think about that one.
That's two hard hit balls with Barden and Schumacher making plays. Now, you're not talking about Scott Rowland. You're not talking about Adam Kennedy. You're talking about guys that, you know, normally don't play that position at the major league level. Barden and Schumacher, and the defense, for the most part, has been very good.
And that's part of pitching, you know, is to utilize your defense. 3 outstanding plays, 2 in the infield this inning by Barton and Schumacher, and then the one up the middle by, you know, Ankiel. Albert's going to get in the show now.
Pujols won't get it. It drops in for a base hit. And that's Omir Santos. And a heads-up play to throw behind the runner. Let's listen in here. Get back right off the bat.
Sometimes, you know, you're in that dugout, you can get a better read than the angle. You can just see that it's going to get over the head, and you know you have to get back. Hernandez, you talked about, he can swing the bat. Lifetime 233 hitter, 9 home runs and 75 RBIs.
First time he flied out to right. Dealt with some injuries a year ago. Very good years with Florida, San Francisco. Bounced around a little bit, as we talked about with Minnesota and Colorado a year ago. That's into the seats and a souvenir. Day baseball here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. Hernandez 0 for 1 with a fly out back in the second. Fans are so outstanding that support the St. Louis Cardinals year in and year out. Bad weather, hot weather, it doesn't matter. They are here. Another big crowd here this afternoon. Barden with it, cuts it off, force play at second. Midway through 4, and we're tied up at 1-1. Little help behind Kyle Loge. Barden on a hot shot off the bat of Sheffield. Skip Schumacher with the pitch. 1-1 here on Fox Sports Midwest. Well, the Cardinals have been out hit 5-1, and that one hit, an Albert Pujols home run measured at 386 feet back in the first. 1-1 game. Kyle Loge, Livan Hernandez, the Cardinals, and the Mets here on Fox Sports Midwest. Pujols, Ludwig, and Ankiel. We talked about the middle of the Mets lineup, and from their perspective, pretty good middle of the lineup when you talk about what the Cardinals bring to the table too.
Absolutely, especially when you put 2 very potent bats back to back. Albert and Ludwig. Very slow breaking ball.
That's what we were talking about earlier. You know, he can do that. He'll really slow it down. You see the Firestone leaderboard, runs batted in. Pujols at 19 already.
And he's tied for the league lead with Ludwig and Gonzalez and Ethier, and Soriano and Banez with the 5 home runs.
Pujols hits a hot shot off the glove of David Wright, and a base hit for Albert Pujols.
You know, David Wright is what, 3 consecutive Gold Gloves, 2 consecutive Gold Gloves, 3 Civil Award. But this wasn't any. It was the same ball that Barden just picked and recorded an out. Here it'll be scored a base hit, I'm sure, and there's a Gold Glover that couldn't handle it. That was just like the play Sheffield hit.
The Exmo Cam brought to you by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. Ryan Ludwig grounded out to short his first time up. Runner at first is Albert Pujols. With at times as slow as Livan Hernandez can be to the plate, do you think about the running game here, even with a guy like Pujols, who's so good at picking up when to go?
Well, remember, you also steal off the pitcher.
And that's what I mean.
So you get that good jump, and then if you pick the right slow delivery, there's no chance for the catcher.
Count here of 2 balls, no strikes. Let's see what Pujols and the Cardinals want to do. Maybe be a little aggressive here. There goes Albert. Throw down to second. He stole it.
No chance. Got to keep him close at first. Almost a walking lead. And you see how big of that jump is. Got a breaking ball. And no chance for our young catcher, Santos.
And that's the one thing about Hernandez. Maybe a little bit of a predictable pattern at times.
Well, and not only that, but he's a ground ball specialist. So if Ludwig or any batter hits it on the ground, you got a good chance of turning 2. So you'll want to have the running game.
Now, if you're Tony La Russa, you only have 2 hits against Hernandez, both off the bat of Pujols. A 3-0 count with an all-star from a year ago. Turn him loose. 3-1. Let's go back to the Pujols base hit.
See, look at that sinking action, but his hands stay back. He trusts his hands that he can wait so long on a ball, but his hands will get to the point of contact.
A 3-1 pitch. Ludwig. Shallow right. Long way to go. And it's just foul. Church was going to come up short, and it's foul by about a foot. Not by much. 3-2.
Come over here and long
Not
run.
even a foot. Ludwig was part of the festivities yesterday to officially launch the All-Star Summer here in St. Louis. You see Pujols 47 for 73, 64%, and 2 steals already here in 09.
Not, a good percentage.
But with Albert, he's going to be aggressive. And Keel on deck. Here's a 3-2. And Ludwig out front pops it up. One thing you wanted there is at least a ground ball to the right side to advance Pujols to third. So it brings in Ankiel. Rick Ankiel at 204, and he has made a dazzling play here this afternoon. If you're just joining us, you see the dirt in the front of his jersey. He made a diving catch in right center, took an extra base hit away from Gary Sheffield. Full extension, and one of the top plays we've seen so far. Outstanding play from Rick Ankiel. 1 out and a runner at second base in a 1-1 game here in the 4th. And again, if you're just tuning us in, how about this catch from Rick Ankiel? Wow.
Coming off the bat of Sheffield, so it's going to slice away from him. He's left-handed, so he has to backhand it. And after he dives for it, he's got to hold on to it.
And that's a fair ball. Pujols can just walk home. Ankiel on his way to second base. And he delivers against the Mets again. Cardinals on top. It's 2-1. He can make such a difference in this lineup once he gets going. It's not a question of, if, it's when. Because he will get going.
Well, he's 4 hits in the series after a real tough 1-for-18 road trip. So here he gives the lead. Hard to defense those balls that are right over the bag, and timely hitting with Albert out at second base, and the Cardinals take the 2-1 lead.
The stolen base by Pujols is big. Here's Brian Barden. And he looks at a ball a little up and away. Barden first time up, grounded out to second. Cardinals with their first lead of the afternoon, 2-1. Remember, in game 1, Rick Ankiel had a 3-hit night, including the game-winning RBI. And last season against the Mets, he was very good, hit above 300. Was slowly hit but foul. Unfortunately for the St. Louis and David Freese, because of Barden and because of Thurston, really nowhere to play for him.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought that up, because it's something that Tony and I know John Mozeliak, the Cardinal general manager, have talked about this, and Tony told David Freese that we want you to go down and play every day. They feel as good as Barden and Thurston are, that David Freese has a much higher upside, and that that even Barden's hit 3 home runs in that last road trip, but Freese is the more likely guy to have the home run power consistently.
Swing and a miss. And David Freese, I think it's worth repeating again. He was telling me that coming out of high school, he had quit baseball, went to the University of Missouri as a student, was not going to play sports. And then all of a sudden he got the itch to play baseball again. About a week before he's supposed to head for his sophomore year, then he goes to Merrimack and he breaks both his wrists playing basketball. So then you're talking about a guy that's 26, Al, and out of baseball in some real, important years as far as development is concerned when you're 19 and 20 years old, 21, and that misses. But he doesn't even play for those full 2 years. That's a big difference for some of the players that get drafted out of high school and then go and play professional baseball in the minor leagues.
And he's also smart enough to realize that it's not going to help his development to sit here on the bench. Of course you want to be here, but you want to be here when you got a role.
Here's a slowly hit ball to third. David Wright over to make the play. Low throw, and they just get Barton. Rick Ankiel reading that from second base, realizing that David Wright had to move from his third base position to make this play, and so third base was open.
Well, you see him actually going back, and so Rick knows there's no way he can field it on a slowly hit, that he will either be past him and a closer race for him to get to third base, and his only play was going to be to first. So it's worth the gamble for the ball hit in front of him.
Here's Brendan Ryan, who's always aggressive early in a count. Doesn't matter where he's at in the lineup. Many times you'll see him swinging that first pitch. That time he stays away and takes a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. I know the Cardinals have talked to him about trying to be a little bit more selective, because the scouting reports with all the video out there, be around the plate, he might go after it, and it might be your pitch instead of his pitch. Here's a 2-0 right down the middle, 2-1. First pitch swings. You see already 11 of those. Brendan with a base hit with 2 outs to make it 3-1 Cardinals. Just went with the pitch. Real nice job of hitting there. Ankiel scores 3-1 St. Louis.
Second RBI of the season for Brendan Ryan. The Cardinals add on 3-1 lead right now, and the one thing you got to be is you got to use all the field. Sometimes when you go up there swinging early in the count, you're trying to pull everything. You got a pitcher who's going to keep the ball predominantly away from you and shoots the ball the right side and through for the RBI single.
Here's LaRue, and he looks at a ball.
The interesting things is Jerry Manuel, the days of LeBron Hernandez being the real innings eater are kind of over, because Manuel doesn't really want him to go,
Hit and run was on. Ryan to second, on his way easily to third, and LaRue reaches with his first base hit, and at least the Cardinals get Kyle Lowe's through the order here in this fourth inning. Cardinals live before and after every game with Pat Ferris and Cal Eldred and Ricky Horton before and after every game right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
They sometimes feel that 3 times through the order is max for Hernandez these days. This is the second time through the order, and bottom of the order is starting to do him in a little bit as he's allowed 4 hits.
And explain that for folks at home, because they see right now only 54 pitches, so why only 3 times max?
Well, I guess they just feel that he's trying to trick you from pitch 1 now. So in the old days, he always he could pitch according to situations. He wouldn't show you his out pitch until maybe the 3rd time up when he got into a jam. Now he's trying to trick you all the way through. His stuff isn't as good as it once was. So that 3rd time, you got a pretty good idea what he's going to give you.
Loge into right, base hit. 4-1 Cardinals. Kyle Loge helping his own cause. How about that?
Always said, ever since Tony La Russa has come to the big leagues, or come to the National League, excuse me, he has said, well, the pitcher's got a hit, so we're going to give them plenty of time. Kind of a hanging breaking ball, just a nice little controlled swing. The RBI single for Loesch is first of the year. But you know, if the pitcher's going to hit, Tony's tried to use that as a weapon, and he's given his pitchers a lot of hitting time, more so than any National League manager I've ever been around.
They start to stir now in the Mets bullpen, and it's 4-1 Cardinals. 5 hits in the inning, 3 consecutive with 2 outs.
This is the 4th inning, and this is the first time the leadoff man of this inning, Albert Pujols, got on, and we showed how he is the worst in the major leagues. When the leadoff hitter gets on, how it becomes a crooked number.
And the leadoff hitter in this inning was Pujols, who was 2 for 2 with a home run and a single, and now 2 runs scored. Schumacher takes a ball outside, not even close. 3-0. You've got Colby Rasmus on deck. Now, if you're Jerry Manuel, you're thinking, do I have to go to my bullpen again early on, this early? I mean, you start thinking a couple of pitches, couple of batters ahead, what may happen in a ball game, and Jerry Manuel is thinking, well, I'm down 4-1 right now, first and second with 2 outs, and my guy is behind in the count on a pretty good hitter here, and Skip Schumacher.
He does have one ace in the hole, and that's Santana's pitching tomorrow.
That helps.
It does help. Major league leader in ERA, and a guy that, you know, very capable of completing what he starts.
Ooh, on the inside corner. 3-2, no argument there from Skip. 4-1 Cardinals. RBIs in this inning from Ankiel, Ryan, and Loesch. So those two off with the pitch. LaRue and the pitcher Loesch, who's standing at first. And Keel out, or rather Schumacher out to deep right, but the catch is made by Ryan Church. So Kyle Loesch helping his own cause with the RBI single into right. It's 4-1 after 4.
Well, we always talk about using the whole field, and watch who sliders away to Albert. He hits a home run with it. Here's another breaking ball out there. Brendan Ryan goes there. This one an inside out stroke by LaRue, and even Kyle Loesch gets into it. A slider out away and hit the ball where it's pitched. You know, as a pitcher, if you got a pull hitter, and you see the Cardinals are leading 4-1 through 4 innings. If you got a pull hitter up there, you know, you've got a lot of ways to pitch him, and many times he'll get himself out. But if you got a hitter that'll spray the ball around, you can't stay in one location. Reyes is 0 for 2. He's flying out to right his first 2 times up. One of the most exciting players in the game. Hitting the ball in the air. And in this case, they aren't line drives. They've just been, you know, little easy fly balls.
What has made Kyle Loesch a better pitcher in St. Louis than opposed to any other stop that he's had in his major league career?
He's a classic underachiever, and the ability to work with Dave Duncan, and really, you know, Dave basically.
But people hear that and they say, okay, the ability to work with Dave. What does that mean?
Well, what basically you sit there and you said, you know, simplify things. You've got a very good sinker. Pitch to contact. Use that sinker. Get ground balls. We're not worried about strikeouts. Strikeouts are. Young pitchers fall in love with strikeouts. As you get a little older, you become smarter, and you say outs are the most important thing. And Dave Duncan doesn't try to, you know, change the world. He tries to take what you have and accentuate it, or make you believe that how good you can become if you take, say, like, you know, a lot of times guys have 4 mediocre pitches. Make one of those pitches a dominant pitch that can make you a big league pitcher.
Slowly hit to first. Pujols. Oh, a miscue there, and Reyes is aboard, and now Kyle Loesch, he may have got stepped on that play.
And it looks like it. And was it in the hand or where?
Going to call it an error on Pujols, and Loesch is limping a little bit. Barry Weinberg out to visit. Let's take a look.
He tried to shovel pass, and he never allowed the ball to get deep into his glove. It's already the 4th error by Albert. He just tried to flip it, and then you see Kyle Loesch out there.
I wonder if he twisted his ankle a little bit.
It went off of Albert's leg, although there you see that ankle as he kind of jumped towards the bag and you roll over on it. That is, sometimes it'll immediately grab you and you kind of you can walk it off, but those ankles, I guess the classic case is Dizzy Dean, you know, stubbing his toe in the All-Star game and eventually hurting his shoulder because you try to alter your mechanics. It's already the 4th error by Albert Pujols.
Yeah,
and
you
we
said
always
that.
think
That's pretty surprising.
Should be a Gold Glove candidate every year.
Well, Loesch says he's all right. Tony La Russa out there, along with the Cardinal medical staff. They could ill afford to lose Kyle Loesch.
Another injury to a starter? No way.
What's the update right now on Carpenter?
Well, you know, it's yet to be determined. You know, he's feeling a little bit better, but you really can't do any activities to really test it. You know, he sneezed the other day and felt a grabbing sensation, so things are not still routine yet. You know, he's able to ride a bike. He can do a couple little arm exercises and things, but, you know, very limited and nothing really to get you closer to playing baseball.
Here's Alex Cora. Just watching Loesch, making sure he's all right. That delivery seemed to be fine.
Well,
I
a little awkward at the end, didn't it?
I think he ducked, though, thinking that Reyes might be running. And so that could have been the throw from, you know, Molina, or rather LaRue, to second.
P.J. Walters is warming up just in case there's an issue with Loesch.
P.J. would be the long man in that bullpen for the Cardinals.
Boggs is going to get the start
on Saturday. Cubs are in town tomorrow night. We're looking forward to that one. 2 balls and no strikes here on Cora, who has doubled and also struck out. How about a double play right here? There's a strike. So P.J. Walters getting loose in the Cardinal bullpen. He made a start at Wrigley Field last week. Got off to a rough start, but then settled in.
It was on Friday in his major league debut.
Loesch would love the double play here. And he'll get the ground ball, but it's to right field. So the first 2 have reached. Back-to-back singles, and it brings in Beltran, and this is where this game gets real interesting with Beltran. Celebrate the 30th anniversary of Lou Brock's 3,000th career hit Sunday, May 17th, right here at Busch. 25,000 fans ages 16 and older receive a Lou Brock replica statue, and I've been told that this is the best of the giveaways over the last 4 or 5 years. Looking forward to that.
You know what happened this date in Cardinal history, don't you?
Fernando Tatis.
Right.
Coming on, making the catch, Ludwig. That's a big out there, and I say that because Carlos Beltran, including today, 20 for 36 against Kyle Loesch. That's a big out.
It's only about the 3rd time they retired him in this series. So you have 2 men on, you get a guy that could one swing tie the game, and instead you get an out. The runner at first base, a ground ball, you can get the double play too.
Brings in Delgado. We will make a couple of visits to Citi Field, their brand new stadium in New York, which is right by the old Shea Stadium. And they say that first and foremost on the field, as far as baseball is concerned, it plays fair. They can't say that right now in the Bronx, can they?
No, averaging 5 home runs a game at the new Yankee Stadium.
That's really unfortunate, isn't it? I mean, especially for people that have idolized the Yankees. You know, a lot of people look at that being such a huge franchise, not just in baseball, but in all the sports. And you'd hate to move into a new stadium and have the game, you know, dumbed down a little bit because it's a home run park. You don't want to see that.
No,
it's Yankee Stadium. That pitch is up. Ludwig won't get it. Quickly, he'll get it back in, and the bases will be loaded. So 3 of the 4 have reached here in the 5th.
If you got an ankle injury or something like that, you're probably going to have a little trouble getting the ball down. And so try to set up inside, ball up right out over the middle of the plate. And lucky that Delgado just hits it for a single. Bases are loaded, so he still can get out of it with a ground ball in the infield.
So bases loaded, Cardinals leading 4-1. We're in the top of the 5th, and here's David Wright, very dangerous. Lined out to right his last time up, and he looks at a pitch right over the middle of the plate.
Slider just right there. I might say I'm going to look for a fastball, and it was a breaking ball.
0-1 driven into right field. That's a base hit. Ludwig coming on, and he'll make the throw in to the plate. A strong throw to LaRue, and it cuts the lead to 4-2. That's 4 base hits for the Mets here in the 5th. And an RBI for Wright, his 6th.
That's a slider. You know, I mean, we're not seeing that sinker, and that ball's staying up. Here's the injury to Loesch. Look at that ankle as he kind of turns over on it, rolls up the ankle, and then since then he's faced 4 batters. 3 of them have reached with base hits.
Tony La Russa, you're a little concerned, along with Dave Duncan, what you're seeing here.
Well, and Kyle's trying to stay in there. He must qualify, finish this inning to qualify for the win.
A couple of ways to look at Sheffield. He's a guy that certainly is dangerous with 500 home runs, but hits the ball right on the button, and a chance to get a double play here too.
Got to be a Hall of Famer with not necessarily 500 home runs, but he's going to have over 1,700 RBIs.
It's 2 strikes. Did not like that. But again, though, Al, you have to talk about the cloud of the steroid era and what players get in. And that's going to be the concern of many players. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Here's a ground ball. Can they get 2? On to second, 1, first. Got him, double play. 6-4-3 with the bases loaded. Sheffield up and only 1 out. And Loesch gets out of it. 6-4-3 on the double play. St. Louis with a lead of 4-2 as we move to the bottom of the 5th. Colby Rasmus, Albert Pujols, and Ryan Ludwig against Livan Hernandez. First pitch taken a little bit low and outside. Rasmus is 0 for 2, back in the starting lineup today. 2-hit night last night. How about your thoughts on Colby so far? Such a highly touted prospect.
Well, you know, I think we just have to see more of him. But Al McRae, who I respect his opinion immensely, told me yesterday, he said before it's all said and done, he's going to be an everyday player. And I think his reference wasn't in a day or a year or 2. I think he's saying this year that he'll be playing every day.
Here's another pitch to Rasmus. Little floater left center, and it drops in for a base hit. His first hit of the afternoon. Hernandez, first batter's out.
Well, we talked about when he gets the first batter out, he is around the league average. When the first batter reaches like it did in the 4th, that it's going to probably be a crooked number. And the Cardinals scored 3 runs in the 4th. The 1 run they scored in the 1st was a solo home run by Albert, the 3rd hitter. But now with Colby a leadoff, see if this is the case. And also, like we talked about, that they get a little bit worried when he starts reaching and facing a team the 3rd time through the order.
Rasmus with good speed at first base. Let's see if the Cardinals want to be aggressive here. You think about the little things that your star players do and just break down this series. Albert Pujols today, a home run, a single, a stolen base. How about Yadier Molina? Overlooked in many ways, but game one was his. As Tony said, you may not find a better game by Yadier, but just the little things add up to wins in the course of a baseball season. And I think from a fan's perspective, you know, a lot of times they're in and out of games, they're watching, but you just don't add up the little things that these great players do.
Well, it's the preparation that they go in there and the fact that they play 9 innings hard. A lot of good things can happen.
And Pujols hits one into center, to the track, to the wall, out of here! Second of the day for Albert Pujols. A 2-run shot. Already he has scored 3 runs. Wow!
Just taking over the league leadership in home runs. He already had RBIs. He pushes that to 21 already. And we're only playing in the second week of the season. So
he's pretty good, Al.
6 home runs.
He's pretty good.
His second multi-home run game of the year. And the kiss of death, allowing that first batter of the inning to reach.
And here is Ryan Ludwig. And there's a breaking ball and a strike on the outside corner. Two and one on Ludwig, and a no-doubter here from Pujols.
Look at the balance right there. The lower half. We always talk about how the head is steady. The hands are always back, but that body, the lower part of the body, is virtually no movement until the point of explosion. Got to be a dream for Hal McRae or any hitting coach to work with Albert. And they do work with him because that's the one thing he always does is he works extremely hard, and his preparation and preparedness is remarkable.
You will hear a bite from Hal McRae in an interview that I conducted with Hal yesterday, talking about exactly what you're talking about, how quiet the hands are when you talk about Albert Pujols, that controlled fury, if you will, and the balance that he has at the plate as well.
Well, just look at him right there. Lifts the leg up, puts it almost back down the same spot, but you know, he's right there. You know, you could kind of push him and he wouldn't fall forwards, backwards. He's got that balance, and those hands are right there.
When you were playing, though, Al, guys seem to stride a little bit more. You know, they could get caught on their front foot a little bit more, where, you know, you take a guy like Edmonds or Pujols, they pick that front foot up and then put it right back down.
Well, I think part of that is because today's pitchers throw so many more off-speed pitches.
But the leagues were different at that time, too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, in the National League, it was more of a mentality of fastball. You know, you would rather have a guy hit his way on. In the American League, it was almost to the point where we don't challenge anybody. You know, if given a choice of a hit or a walk, I'll put the guy on with a walk. But the difference in the strike zone.
That'll be a fly out to center. Beltran there.
That may sound funny, talking about the difference in strike zone in the American League and National League, but it was because of the balloon chest protector. The American League wore this big old giant thing, and
you're talking about the umpire.
The umpire, and they couldn't physically get down low enough, where the National League always had the inside chest protector. Wasn't as bulky. They could get down behind a catcher, so they naturally had a lower strike zone.
Here's Ankiel, and he takes a strike. RBI double back in the fourth, a run scored, and an outstanding defensive play. Rick Ankiel out to deep right field, and that one is out of here. The second in this inning for the Cardinals. Rick Ankiel's first of 2009.
is the knockout blow. As Hernandez has been knocked out of this game, they're going to go to Stokes in the bullpen. And Loesch could be through too, as the Cardinals have got the big lead. Fastball out away from him, and he hooks it. And Ryan Franklin, well, he's more of a spectator. But Rick's first. He hit 25 last year in an injury-shortened season, and that's the first of many to come.
Chevrolet called to the bullpen. Righty coming in. Hernandez out. All Cardinals so far at 7-2. Well, Mr. Stokes, Brian Stokes, is in a busy man here for the Mets. I've seen him a bunch in this series, and it's 7-2 Cardinals.
It's only the third game he's appeared in the three-game series, and seventh all overall. Has not allowed a run yet this year.
This is Barton out to center. Beltran going back on the track to make the catch. So Livan Hernandez 4 to third. 7 runs, all earned, 9 hits. He walked 1, no strikeouts, and he allows the 3 home runs. Here's Brendan Ryan. Brendan Ryan has been on base twice. He has walked and also an RBI single back in the 4th when the Cardinals picked up 3 consecutive hits with 2 outs in that 4th inning. One thing we have learned about this Cardinals team, Al, they can flat out hit so far.
So far so good, and because of the big lead and because of that potential injury to Loesch, his day's going to be through. P.J. Walters continues to throw in the bullpen, says he's ready, and you know, I think you take Loesch out, he qualifies for the victory now, and you get some attention to that ankle.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. 2-2.
Stokes was acquired from Tampa Bay, exchanged for cash in the end of '07.
Lazy fly ball into right. Ryan Church is over in foul territory and makes the catch. We have played 5 here at Busch Stadium. Cardinals lead it 7-2. So P.J. Walters will take over for the Cardinals, and this is our Aflac trivia question. Which is greater, Pujols hits off Livan Hernandez or the number of teams Hernandez has been with? And Albert Pujols with 3 hits today. So 11 hits, and Livan Hernandez with 7 different teams. Does that surprise you a little bit? Because Livan Hernandez, at least in his prime, would get you innings, which is what every team is looking for in many ways.
But it doesn't surprise me that he's bounced around as much as he has.
And the reason
especially
why?
the last couple of years.
Yeah, last couple of years, I guess, makes sense, right?
Yeah. See, what P.J. Walters, my concern is, as our Chevy called to the bullpen, P.J. comes out, is can he be efficient coming out of the bullpen right away? We've seen as a starter, and I'm not only talking about last Friday, but the game he pitched for the Cardinals against Memphis. That first inning or 2, he really struggles.
And a line drive out to right, backing up and off his glove. And now Ryan Church on his way to second, off the glove of Ludwig.
Well, it has to be a 2-base error. He misplayed it, misjudged it initially as he kind of drifted back, and they give it a 2-base error. You know, he off the bat, he kind of came in, misjudged it. He wasn't sure how far he'd see him coming in. Now he changed direction, and then it goes off his glove. And I'm sure Ryan will tell you that he should have caught that ball.
The thing about PJ is that he doesn't throw hard. And there is a little wind here at the ballpark, but he doesn't throw hard. And if his changeup isn't right, he's going to get knocked around. He's not going to overpower you.
I've seen him throw pretty good sliders, though. You know, his breaking ball, you know, has some bite to it. There were times he, you know, even last Friday, that in those first couple of innings when he struggled, you know, he made some very good pitches. He just didn't make enough of them to retire hitters.
Hard hit ball to second. Skip Schumacher with the play. Productive out for Santos.
Another play where he looks real casual. Jeremy Reed is going to pinch hit.
Cora and Reed, Santos, who's now playing, and Sheffield, who's playing, and Tatis, a guy named Fernando Tatis, primarily on their bench this year for Jerry Manuel. One to 0 on Jeremy Reed.
Very good defensive player here. Came over from Seattle on that big three-team trade.
Cardinals have asked their farm system to produce. We shall see. One of those is Mr. Walters, who's on the mound right now. One out and a runner at third. Here comes a 1-1 pitch from PJ. Little bit outside, didn't miss by much. Barton will give it a look. Out of play. This Cardinals team has hit so far this season. 9 hits already this ball game against the Mets, and they lead it 7-2. Would you be concerned, though, if you're a fan at home watching and you say, well, where's the starter, Kyle Loge, after he turned his ankle just a bit but finished that inning? Little help there. Gets the strikeout. That's a big one.
There are times when you want to strike out. Get that runner at third base, less than 2 outs, and boy, you know, he gets Reed to go after a pitch nowhere near the strike zone, doing him a favor. But he had a bunch of strikeouts in that game against Zambrano. What was it, 7 strikeouts in 4 innings?
Right, 7.
But he threw 98 pitches in doing so.
2 outs, and Reyes with a base hit into right. RBI base hit cuts a lead to 7-3. He's now 2 for 4. And this is when you ask for trouble, because Reyes gets on with his good speed, just out of the reach of Pujols, and a base hit into right, and it brings in Cora. Cora with a couple of base hits. He is 2 for 3.
Last night was the exception of the Cardinal starters getting the game beyond the 6th inning, as Pinheiro went 8+.
So 2 outs and a runner at first. We're in the 6th. I think a big question right now in Major League Baseball, compared to when you played, the jump from AAA to the major leagues.
Yes,
it's a pretty big gap now.
In my mind, the biggest jump years back was, could you make a jump between A ball and AA? If you could play in AA, it was just refinement, and you could get to the major leagues. But today there is a huge difference between AAA and the big leagues.
Well, PJ is known for his changeup, but as you mentioned, his breaking ball has been good. We saw him hit 90-91 occasionally on the gun. There have been guys that don't throw hard, a number of them, that can make it in the major leagues if you change speeds and locate.
Location is the biggest thing. And you think about, I'll just give you 2 pitchers, a left-hander, John Tudor, and a right-hander, Bob Tewksbury.
I was thinking Tewksbury for sure.
Tewksbury threw 70% fastballs, but he could spot his fastball up and in, which set up all of his off-speed pitches.
It's outside, and it's 3-1. Now the problem, if you're Tony La Russa, is that you want to give PJ Walters, a little work, see what he's got, but you're also trying to hold on to a 7-3 lead.
Well, the bottom line is, you come into this game, and it was 7-2. Now the 1 run they scored is an unearned run with 2 base error to lead off the inning. But if you're going to be a long man, You know, you've trained as a starter in the minor leagues. You know, and you've got the runs to work with. You should be in position where you could finish this game.
3-2 the count on Cora with Beltran on deck. You wouldn't imagine it would be a long leash here for P.J. Walters. We will see, depending on what happens. That's pulled foul. Again, if you're Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan, you know, first and foremost, you got to win the game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, same token, if you come in with a 5-run lead and you're asked to finish the last 4 innings, yeah, if you can't get deep into that game, and if it's close enough, it becomes a save situation. You know, you're not going to be in there. But if you can't do that, you shouldn't be here.
And that's a walk. Inning started with an error by Ludwig. Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service. So go online to StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. Out to visit Dave Duncan, and the Cardinals bullpen starts to get loose. That's the lefty, Trevor Miller. You're thinking about Delgado. This could be it for PJ. Right?
Yes, but you know,
I mean, that's. But why would you get him up?
But why do you have a, you know? But that's it. You're not comfortable. You bring in a long man, and if you feel like you've got to get, you know, go to your bullpen in the first inning, you just waste it. And that's why you're worried about him, because of he hasn't shown us that he can start a game or come out of the bullpen and be efficient in that first inning or two.
First and second with 2 outs, and that pitch is taken for a ball. Beltran with very good success against Loge. Singled back in the first, doubled in the third, and flied to right with 2 runners on his last time up. 1-0, got him out in front. PJ's got it, fires a bullet to Albert. The Mets will strand 2. They pick up a run, and it's 7-3. Top of the order, this date in baseball history. Cardinals third baseman at the time back in 1999, Chan-Ho Park. Not once, but twice. 2 grand slams, 1 inning. That, it's truly amazing. You were there.
Not the same pitcher. And there was a scenario that if that inning would have extended, he could have come up a third time with the bases loaded.
Unbelievable. But you know what? Give Fernando Tatis a lot of credit for making it back to the major leagues.
Yeah, and he was the
couple years away.
Comeback player of the year last year.
Up the middle, and a base hit for Jason LaRue. And he's 2 for 3. Sacrifice situation here.
Second start for Jason. He already has 4 hits, 2 hits in each of those starts. And Walters, it's going to be your long man, so he's got to give you some innings. There's Sean Green, who's appearing for the 8th time already, the first time in this series. He came over in the Putz trade with Jeremy Reed and J.J. Putz, that big trade with Seattle.
As a starter, you know that he's been in this spot before, which is to sacrifice. Hoping to visit with Jim Hayes, a little bit about Ryan Franklin. Who now is the pseudo closer of the Cardinals. He's done a very good job.
He's 4 for 4 in save opportunities, and you know.
And PJ gets the bunt down. Nicely done. Delgado to first. And LaRue is in scoring position. You have to try to imagine what's going through his mind. His first home game in which he's participating in, meaning Walters, and you know, all the different things that go through your mind. You're trying to get people out. You're trying to sacrifice. You're trying to relax. It's not an easy thing to do.
the key ingredient there, relax. Everything is so sped up around you, and you got to slow everything down.
And here is Schumacher, and a ground ball. That's a base hit. Nice job of going the other way. Schumacher on his way to second with a double. 8-3 Cardinals.
Good hustling double and RBI. Get that run that Mets scored in the 6th. Get it right back here for a 5-run lead. And try to add on. 6th RBI for Schumacher. Good sinking action, running away. Look at that concentration, just flicking the wrist, making contact, and bring another run on home, represented by LaRue.
Well, the Cardinals, and we've talked about this rivalry week here in St. Louis with the Mets, first of 3. Beginning a few nights ago, and the Cardinals take game 1. They win last night. Have a chance to win game 3 here today and set the tone for the Chicago Cubs this weekend. There is nothing like it in sports. The Cubs and the Cardinals
playing this afternoon, trailing 1-0, batting in the bottom of the 5th to the Reds. Cardinals went into first place last night with their victory.
0-2 the count on Colby Rasmus. That's outside, 1-2.
Sean Green is 6'6", 227. He's noted for a sinking fastball. Throws from the side out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Nice crowd on hand here at Busch Stadium.
Left-handers a lot of times will get a good look at the release point. See the good action, but that's
why you get the feeling that this might be a good matchup for Rasmus.
Right. You know, I mean, you know, somebody that throws from the side, there's really no body or anything to really obscure the view. And that's what a hitter tries to see, is that release point. Gives him that much more of a gauge to detect what the pitch is.
And he hits it fair down the first baseline, off the sidewall. Rasmus on his way to second. Schumacher will score. Cardinals add to their lead. Back-to-back doubles. Schumacher and Rasmus. Remember, he fell behind 0-2.
A little breaking ball, just kind of backed up a little bit, stayed over the middle of the plate. Low ball hitter, and he goes out, hooks that ball for his RBI double. Back-to-back doubles, 3rd hit of the inning, and his 3rd RBI. They're going to intentionally walk Albert. Oh, the boos are raining down.
Intentional pass to Pujols. This will be the 4th time that he has been on base, and Ludwig should get used to this. Even though he was an all-star with 37 home runs, you're going to see this a lot if you hit behind Albert Pujols.
And nobody with a baseball mind will ever second guess what Jerry Manuel is doing right now. You got a sinker ball or ground ball set up to double play. And you've already seen enough of Albert in this game, as he is 3 for 3 with 3 runs scored, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs.
But if you're Jerry Manuel, you manage in New York, and at some point the heat gets turned up a little bit, whether it's the first week or the last week. And they, record-wise, aren't playing like probably they should.
No.
Bud Light once on tap. The Cubs coming to town. The difference is drinkability. Bud Light. Good matchup tomorrow. 6:30 pregame show. Cubs and Cardinals on Fox Sports Midwest. I know you really like that matchup.
Absolutely.
Wainwright and Dempster tomorrow. Boggs and Marshall on Saturday. Wellemeyer and Harden on Sunday. .1-0 pitch. Way outside, and to the backstop it goes.
Now
it's one thing, Al, to lose games, but then when you go back to the first game of the series, your star center fielder doesn't slide. Daniel Murphy and left misplays a ball. That cost you the game. You had the catcher's interference. You had walks when you're leading by 4 runs. Those are the kind of things that turn the heat up.
Sure, but you know, what is the manager going to do on that? Some of those things.
Well, a lot of people point the fingers to the manager. He's the one in charge.
Now, if they continue to not slide and get runners thrown out at the plate and all the walk runs in, you know.
Hey, as you well know, in all your years in professional baseball, somebody's got to take the fall. Managers, players, somebody. I mean,
you can't fire 25 players. You can fire a manager, but I think we're still a ways away from that. But
I'm not saying that now. I'm just saying the heat is turned up because you're playing like this in New York in a brand new stadium. Your payroll, you brought back Perez. You've got a great closer. We haven't seen him yet. You've got Santana.
Omar Minaya, the general manager there, you know, he fired Willie Randolph. Oftentimes you can fire one manager, you can't fire 2.
Ludwig with a base hit into right. 1 run in. Here comes Albert. He will score. Ludwig delivers. They intentionally pass Pujols. Ball to the backstop. 2 runners in scoring position. And Ludwig delivers with the infield drawn in. It's all Cardinals this afternoon.
And not only that, but kind of another weak little throw and a high trajectory allows Ludwig to get into scoring position. So here's the base hit. It's over the head. If they're back at normal depth, it's a line drive, maybe a double play. High throw, it's a single, but Ludwig's able to get himself in scoring position as he misses the cutoff man. And the double play is not in order. Another intentional pass to the left-handed hitting Ankiel.
Intentional pass, and they are down by 8 runs. They will deal with Barden. Face Stokes back in the 5th. 1 run in the 1st, 3 in the 4th, 3 more in the 5th, and 4 in this inning. Well, when New York comes to town, no matter what year you're talking about, good, bad, and different, you know they have stars. And that means Carlos Beltran, and for the Cardinals, the big star for them undoubtedly is Albert Pujols. So the comparison between the two. Carlos Beltran did not slide. Maybe a series-changing play. And also in this game, weekly grounding out. The Pujols, that was the final out the other day. And today, opposite field home run in the 1st. And again in the 5th, he would go deep. But the Stars, for the most part, have showed up here today. 7 RBIs for Pujols, as we highlighted.
Beltran's had a good series, but in this game, the last 2 times up, you know, he's had runners in scoring position and is 0 for 2.
Ground ball hit to 3rd. Wright will go to 2nd. Out there on to 1st. Double play. But the Cardinals add to their lead with 4 more. It's 11-3 after 6. Baseball today on Fox Sports Midwest. Your home of the Cardinals is brought to you by McDonald's. Come into McDonald's today and get any large soft drink or sweet tea for just $1. And by Chrysler, employee pricing plus ends April 30th. Hurry to your Chrysler and Jeep dealers. P.J. Walters back to work, and this is Carlos Delgado. Was able to get out of a jam in his first inning. Cardinals now with an 8-run lead here in the 7th.
Now PJ should finish this game unless Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan feel that a Chris Perez or, you know, Miller or somebody needs a little tune-up for the series.
2-0 pitch. Not only is the shift on here for the Cardinals, but look at where the second baseman and the shortstop are playing. Deep on the grass. And maybe that's because Walters doesn't throw that hard. They move him back a little bit further. anticipating that he might pull it even more so.
Well, give yourself a little range. He doesn't run that well, so you've got a chance to play deep on the grass, get to a ball, and still throw him out.
2-2 as they pitch him away.
You would think with that defense they were expecting him to pull the ball.
Again, they pitch him away.
Breaking ball out away.
Now, I guess if you pitch him away, but you've got a guy like Delgado that's been in this league for a long time, known as a pull hitter, but if you pitch him away, you're not throwing hard, he probably could go with that pitch. If not, he's going to roll over and get the ground ball.
I just don't see, guys have the command, fastball command. I mean, obviously, pitching away there with his fastball, he shouldn't hook that one. And if he did, roll over on a ball, I don't know with this defense if he'd be able to get him out, even with. So.
3-2.
No walks when you're up by 8.
It has been another impressive performance by the Cardinals offense here today. 13 hits, 11 runs.
Dan, we've had, we get accustomed to having other broadcasters or people with other teams, talk to us about. And the one thing they always say is, hey, Tony's not batting the pitcher 8. And the simple answer I give is the fact Tony only does that when he thinks his team's going to not score runs.
Pujols playing back, and he'll step on the bag. So I guess you're saying that this is, an indication that he likes his lineup.
Exactly right. He likes his lineup. He thinks he's going to score runs.
Look at that. All playing back on the right side of the infield, and Pujols even on the grass comes in a step or two before the pitch and makes the play. All those charts coming to fruition here for Dave Duncan. David Wright pulled foul. Playing in New York, I would imagine, Al, has to be a different animal. If you're a professional player and dealing with the media and the fans' expectations, not a lot of leeway.
You either love it or you hate it.
One ball, one strike on David Wright, who was fit right into New York. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. He's lined out to right. He's popped out to second and also has an RBI base hit with the bases loaded back in the 5th. I guess the biggest concern for any fan right now is Kyle Loge. You take him out early in this game at big lead. You're thinking that everything's okay, but on the flip side, that's a fan's perspective. If you're Tony La Russa, and we'll hear from him in the post game, he's probably saying, what? You know what? We're being cautious here with Kyle Loge.
Yeah, just being cautious. You got to lead. It's not the ideal situation, but it's a long season. We wanted to get him some treatment on the ankle, and hopefully he'll be able to make his next start and right on through.
And for those of you just joining us, it was the top of the 5th. A play at first, and Loge went to cover the bag. And here it is. It's left ankle. Like he may have done something to that.
Could be either one of them. Wait, look there.
Here's a ground ball and off the glove of the second baseman Schumacher, and a base hit for David Wright. Tough play.
They give an error on that.
So they're going to give him an E4 on that play. That's a tough error.
Yeah, that's extremely tough error. And one that is not deserved.
Brings in Sheffield.
I agree with your call that that's a base hit.
But if you're the Cardinals, Schumacher is human. He'll look up and say, okay, they just gave me an error. If you're Jose Oquendo and Joe Bettini and Tony La Russa, you worry so much about Schumacher, being so hard on himself. And right now he's upset. You can see that.
Well,
and that's got to be a concern.
And I'll tell you, it's not because of the scoring. He may not even realize what the scoring is. He's just a perfectionist and feels like he should have made the play. But ball was hit hard. It's to his backhand. He's diving for it. You know, that's not a routine, and I would expect it to be changed.
Sheffield, left center, and Keel. But it gives you an idea whether or not he saw the scoreboard. It gives you an idea just how hard he'll be on himself.
Right.
He shouldn't be, because he's playing the position very well.
Yeah, I had a
but
nice.
That's him.
Yeah, I had a nice conversation with his father in the first homestand, and we were talking about that. And you know, it's a great quality, and you really appreciate when a player is his toughest critic, and they should be at this level. But you also have to remind yourself that you are human. And his dad was saying, yeah, such and such play. He goes, you know, that's all I'll hear tonight.
And this time last year, he was just worried about sticking around and getting hits. Remember how he started. And with a left-handed batter up, you think about Skip Schumacher. You also see that Albert Pujols is not holding the runner at first.
You know, this is one of those situations to me, you know, it's like, you know, the unwritten rule is when you're ahead by 8 runs, you know, you're not supposed to run. But when you're trailing by 8 runs, why not get yourself a better opportunity to score? I mean, you can get a huge lead here, and, you know, and you should be able to walk down to second base. Why just concede it?
You know where I stand on that. Drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, right. You should
take the base.
Take the base. You know, they're giving it to you.
Well, you know, think about if you have a play at third or even at short, where those guys have to knock a ball down. In this particular instance, now you can get a forced play at second.
Right, you can ball up the middle, and,
right.
Your only plays at second base. Now you got an out there.
2-2.
And that's not, you know, I mean, you're trying to get back in the game.
Two outs, 2-2, runner at first, and a lead of 11-3 to favor the Cardinals. Pitch it's up and just hammered. Goodness. You can hear that up here. Whew. Church is first.
It's one of the deeper home runs we've seen to right field. Reached the second section in the lower level. Let's see, I've got 1 home run this year, so I think I'll admire it.
11-5 St. Louis. 2 outs here in the 7th. Here's Santos. Line drive into right. Catch made. 3rd and final out. Time to stretch. Cardinals with a 6-run lead. Infinity game summary, and it's Albert Pujols leading the way in our game summary. That was in the first. How about Rick Ankiel? Outstanding catch in right center. Pujols would do it again in the first and again in the 5th. Ankiel with a home run as well. Those two, big hug. Ankiel and Pujols, the story today. Thus far, and the Cardinals have an 11-5 lead here in the bottom of the 7th. Brendan Ryan will lead it off for St. Louis. No activity in the Cardinals bullpen. And the first pitch is taken low and outside.
Brendan 1 for 2 with a walk and an RBI base hit. Second inning work for Green.
Swing and a miss and a good pitch.
Gibson wants to talk to him.
I think the catcher got hit on the backswing and watching that, and maybe our home plate umpires giving him a little breather here.
That's the case. Professional courtesy. come around there and you see whack. You learn real quick if a guy's got a long backswing.
Grounder hit to short. Reyes up with it. Flips it over to first for the first out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. You would hope that the Cardinals would not have to use Ryan Franklin here today, and so far so good with Ryan in that closer's role. He's been very good. I would say the media would not want to go to the Tony La Russa press conference if Ryan Franklin has to come in this game. Or they may want to enjoy going there. Tony won't. It'll be a quick one. We'll see Chicago here tomorrow night. And Milton Bradley and Lou Piniella had a little visit on Wednesday. And they are going to keep him on the bench until he is 100% healthy.
Well, that's the question. You know, will he be 100% healthy?
That's popped up and finds his seats. Signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with the Cubs in the offseason. So we could see this weekend, probably, I would assume, Al, Reed Johnson or Micah Hoffpauir in the outfield.
Hoffpauir, you know, will probably get a lot of playing time. Kukudomi's been playing center and Hoffpauir right.
You're right.
Thank you.
1-2. Slowly hit towards third, but a foul ball off his leg.
Front shin, and he felt that one.
How tough do you think it is for LaRue to make the transition of being an everyday catcher with the Reds in his major league career? And he comes to St. Louis, but now being a backup to obviously one of the better ones, Mr. Molina.
And it's real hard to keep your batting eye. But the one thing about a backup catcher is you've got to be able to, the ability to catch and throw is more important than what you do offensively. Right? Yes. And you know, Jason LaRue has come back here for a second year because he accepts that role. He knows he's playing behind, you know, Molina, who's going to get the majority of the play time by far.
Up the middle and a base hit. Also helps when you go 3 for 4.
And you know, he really handles the pitching staff well when they like it.
Big day at Mobile on the run. On the run at Mobile gives you 6. Cardinals score 6 runs, get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for only $0.25 the next day at On the Run at Mobile.
What do you get if you score 12?
Double your pleasure, I guess. Thanks to Al Rabowski. He'll contribute.
Oh, everybody go to Mobile and find out that Dan is
no.
supplying that bonus.
You asked the question, I gave you the answer.
Yeah, but I knew it was incorrect.
It's P.J. Walters.
How about P.J. already? Second plate appearance. Sacrificed the first time. And that was added to the 4-run 6th inning.
Good sacrifice here. Only play to first. His second of the day. 2-4. Brings in Skip Schumacher. Skip today with a double, run scored back in the 6th inning. He is fly to right. He is grounded out to first and also grounded out to second. Cole Hamels left today's game against the Brewers in the top of the 4th. He was hit on his left shoulder.
Had some elbow issues in spring training and now hit on that shoulder, huh?
Yeah, he was 0-1 with the ERA over 11 at the start of play today. Here comes a 1-0 pitch to the Cardinal leadoff man, their second baseman, Skip Schumacher. 2 balls, no strikes. Big Cardinal fan, Todd Robbins, excited about the fact that the Cardinals could get 12 runs today.
And he also is incorrect in his hearing.
He's a big fan of your saloon, I understand, right?
Yes. Colonel Todd Robbins, formerly of the Army. Well, I always get confused now because they're Scott Air Force Base, but he was Army, as they all all the bases now, are
military out.
But you still will have Marines and Navy and Coast Guard and stuff at a lot of the bases. They're just not an Air Force base anymore. But Todd is, I thank him for his service, but no longer with the U.S. military. But still a good friend.
2-2 pitch. Inside, and he held up. We have the day game here. Chance to have a nice meal at home, relax a little bit, get ready for the Cubs.
I'm always ready for the Cubs. Always enjoy that. It's fun now when the Cub fans come down here and invade St. Louis, like Cardinal fans have done for years going to Chicago.
Ouch. More so last few years than previous. Agreed? As far as the Cubs coming here?
Coming down here, yeah.
Fans?
Yes, much so. And it's a tougher ticket to get now in Chicago than it's ever been for the Cardinal fans. But well worth it.
3-2 with 2 outs and a runner at second. Cardinals leading by 6 runs.
If you're wondering about the Cubs, they picked up a run, but still trail 2-1 after 6.
Schumacher shoots one foul. Better be heads up over there. Left center and off the wall. LaRue will score. Here's your 12 runs. 12-5 St. Louis.
Back-to-back doubles and RBI doubles for Schumacher. Second RBI of this game. And got the second time he's faced Green. Got a base hit to left the first time. This one over the head of Sheffield for another double.
A visit, and in steps Colby Rasmus. Right-hander getting loose in the bullpen for the Mets. Joe Thurston will pinch run now for Schumacher. Late innings. And the Cardinals leading 12-5. So there's a look at Thurston. Pinch runner here at second base. Nice round of applause for Skip. A couple of doubles here today.
Right-hander warming up for the Mets is Bobby Parnell. Talked about a little bit in the first 2 games of the series, a revamped bullpen for the Mets. And some of these guys our first look at.
Little tapper off his glove. Tough play at second. And safe is Colby Rasmus with his good speed. And that's the one element that he really brings to this team, is a very good element of speed.
Good speed right there. He had the play in front of him. He could smell the base hit. And it's his 3rd hit of the game. He's beating it out.
Most importantly, though, you extended to Pujols.
Albert, what a day Albert's having, as he got 2 more on base. He's already got 3 RBIs and 2 home runs in this game. He's not been retired. He's scored 4 runs on the 2 home runs, a single, a stolen base, potentially passed and scored. So let's see what he can do now.
2 outs, first and third for Albert Pujols. Pujols a big day. On base 4 times, 3 hits, 2 home runs. Had a chance to visit yesterday with Hal McRae and ask him about Pujols, what makes him so good.
Well, when he's right, he's quiet. When he's wrong, he's not as quiet, you know. So his timing is off now, but he's doing okay. But we've seen him better, and he will be better, get better.
Again, that was yesterday.
Right.
And Pujols now is locked in, but the point being, and he's exactly right, meaning quiet, the hands, and is he out in front? And really the only time you see him in trouble is when he's on his front foot.
And, you know, he's just getting fooled on breaking balls out in front.
Albert has had a big series, and you see, you can call me Al. Against Albert Pujols, Perez, Maine, and Hernandez, and what he has done in his career and this series. Outstanding.
After that sinker down and in at his feet, you know, a little sweeping breaking ball off the plate, 2-1. That wakes up Albert.
The 2-1. 2-2. Outfield very deep for Pujols. No surprise there.
Tom Green in his second inning to work, 49th pitch.
Ooh, and he strikes out Albert with 2 runners on. Cardinals add to the lead with another run here in the 7th, and it's 12-5. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. By Bank of America, Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Hyundai, brought to you by your St. Louis area Hyundai dealers. Always a home run with America's best warranty, and now Hyundai Assurance. The Mina, Mississippi.
Tatis pinch hitting here on the anniversary of his 2 grand slams in the same inning.
You know what, Al? Pretty amazing career to see what has happened from 10 years ago to where he is now, and the ball just jumps off his bat into left field for a base hit. Of course, his dad, former player, and Fernando Tatis, with a role of being possibly a second baseman, a third baseman, and as we saw last year, an outfielder for the New York Mets.
He's a good guy. I talked to him a little bit before yesterday's game, and as I said, he was a comeback player of the year. He had a long haul to get back, and Dave Duncan out to talk as Trevor Miller starts to throw a little bit. It's the 3rd inning of work for P.J. Walters.
Freshman stays in the game, playing second base.
Chance to try to get a double play here with Reyes with his good speed, and Trevor Miller starts to throw in the pen. Reyes today with a couple of hits. One of those an infield hit that knocked out Kyle Loge. By the way, that error that was charged to Schumacher has now been changed to a base hit, as we thought. Reyes, foul ball. And that's probably the ruling. Not probably, that is the ruling that we thought it should have been.
Yes.
Skip has played very well, and that was a really tough chance.
And we're not trying to protect him or hurt P.J. Walters. It's just that's the way the scoring should have been. And thought it would be changed, and it has been.
0-1 the count on Jose Reyes. Runner goes.
See, that's what we're talking about. Is, I mean, especially the leadoff batter. You know, you're not holding them on, so go ahead and take advantage of it.
And they give Tatis a stolen base.
Could have been fielder's indifference, but they ruled it a stolen base.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
See, if you're a backup catcher, you just get no respect.
How is that not fielder's indifference? You're not holding him on.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I agree with you.
If you're not going to hold him on, you shouldn't, penalize the catcher.
Popped up, On the infield, Pujols.
Albert did a good job. As you can see, P.J. Walters looking for it, and then heard Albert calling him off and vacated the area.
Brings in Cora, who has doubled, struck out, walked, and also singled. On base 3 times in this ball game. We're in the 8th, and it's 12-5 Cardinals. Cora's been around for a long, long time. His brother Joey's been around for a long time, too. Strike at the knees. Post-game show coming up with Pat Paris and Ricky Horton. Jim Hayes will have reaction from the clubhouse and Tony La Russa as well. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1. At the knees, but a little bit low. 3 and 1.
For now 33 years of age.
Could this be it now for PJ, because you have the lefty getting loose, a switch hitter on deck, and then you have Delgado who hits from the left side.
Well, to me, it's a disappointing outing if you have to go get him with such a big lead.
Cardinals wanted to turn around Beltran a couple of times in this series to the other side of the plate. Beltran here, 1 swing of the bat can make it 12-8. 2 runners on, and the shift on. And Beltran corks one into deep center field. Rick Ankiel spun around and watches it go over the wall. 3-run homer for Carlos Beltran. On the first pitch, he unloads. And that may be it for P.J. Walters.
6 runs he's allowed in his 2+ innings of work. You know, you come in with a big lead and you're the long man, you got to be able to hold it. And there's the 3-run home run, and his day is through. As Tony is signaled to the bullpen, so PJ gets a 1 out here in the 8th inning, and Trevor Miller will be coming in. We'll take a break, step away, and we'll be back. The Cardinals lead 16-13. Welcome back. I misspoke. It was the hits I gave you as the Cardinals have a 4-run lead, 12-8, with 1 out here in the 8th inning. Trevor Miller will take over. P.J. Walters, who went 2 1/3 innings, he allowed 5 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 2 walks, a strikeout, and 2 home runs. So Trevor coming in for his 6th appearance of the season. And he get an opportunity here to get a little work and tune up for what will probably be a very eventful and busy weekend.
And it brings in Delgado with 1 out. Only problem with that home run, you don't want to see it, but now if the Mets would load him up, potential tying run comes to the plate. 3-run shot there by Carlos Beltran, and here's Delgado with 1 out, nobody on. Cardinals leading 12-8. Oh, he caught it. How did he catch that?
They caught
right
him.
Back at him, and he caught it.
One of those cases where you throw the ball, sometimes you don't even see it, but you just react to it. A breaking ball, and look at to, has to backhand it. And now he'll take a minute to get his heart back. And that might have been the only man he was facing. As Chris Perez is going to come into this game.
12-8, St. Louis leading the Mets. 16 hits for the Cardinals, 13 for the Mets. Chris Perez is in for the Cardinals. Right now, if you're Tony La Russa, you're Dave Duncan, you're John Mozeliak, you're looking ahead to Chicago to an extent. You're saying, all right, Mitchell Boggs goes on Saturday. You're not sure what you're going to get from Mitchell Boggs. Your long man just went today, got beaten up a little bit. You're not sure if you can bring him back on Saturday. So the question then becomes, are you protected enough in the bullpen?
Knowing Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, the answer is no, particularly for Saturday.
And that's the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hoping tomorrow that Wainwright will do what he normally does, at least 6 innings.
And Tony will first say it's like you're getting way ahead of yourself because we still have this game to finish.
I'm also a fan, Al, so I look ahead. Okay?
Well, a player has to, that's been like a Josh Kinney and Brad Thompson, they have to stay down for 10 days unless there's an injury. The only way you could bring him back sooner, a minimum of 10 days.
But what I'm thinking is, who would be your long man
for Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, so you could see a roster move being made, and Denny's Reyes is warming up behind Perez.
Nice pitch. This might be good, though, for Perez to have a little bit of a comfortable lead at the major league level and work on some of the things that he wants to do.
Well, I talked about how PJ should finish the game unless they wanted some work with Perez and the lefties.
That was the slider from Perez. Cardinals lead at 12-8. Twelve to 8 in favor of St. Louis as we move to the bottom of the 8th here in the Gateway City at Busch Stadium. Parnell will take over. Bobby Parnell. This will be his 8th appearance and an ERA of 2.57. Ryan Ludwig will lead it off for the Cardinals. Ludwig and Keel and Barton for St. Louis and Tony La Russa. Ludwig, a big base hit back in the 6th. Picked up a couple of RBIs after they intentionally walked Albert Pujols. I would imagine with Ryan Ludwig, at this point in his career, it's just a question as to whether or not he can stay healthy. If he's healthy, he's going to put up numbers.
Well, he saw what he did last year, being healthy, and Silver Slugger Award, All-Star recipient. Had the 21-game hitting streak stopped. It was the first game of the series. Sat out yesterday. He's got a hit, as you said, a big hit. 18 RBIs already.
Popped up, left side. Catch made. That's Fernando Tatis. You go back 10 years ago, you thought Fernando Tatis would be with you for a long time here in St. Louis.
Sure. Things kind of went south. Kind of had some issues in Montreal where, kind of anxiety attacks, and good to see him come back. He's a nice young man, and I guess not that young anymore, but you're happy to see him.
Ricky Ankiel now with an extra base hit. Another one here this afternoon.
It's his 3rd hit of the game.
A couple of doubles and a home run, also an intentional walk.
Always hit the Mets very well. Had an average about 380 last year against them.
And here is Barton. Going back to Tatis, though, for just a moment. I mean, that is an incredible story, to be out of the major leagues for a couple of years, and you're out of sight, you're out of mind. It's just tough to give a guy that has been out for 2 years even a look. And then once you get that look, you got to make the most of it to get back in. It's very hard to do. And he did it.
In many ways, he's kind of a shy individual, so he's not going to stand out, or, so can't be happier for him to battle back and hopefully, be a productive finish to his career.
And we saw him last year beat the Cardinals, and he was playing the outfield. Who would have thought that?
Well, that's the one thing. As you get a little older, if you can add a position or two, that versatility will keep you on a roster.
You have to wonder what's going through his mind. Back in St. Louis now, 10 years later, historic day for him and for the Cardinals with those 2 grand slams, and here he is playing third base now for the Mets, and a long, long road back for Fernando Tatis. But really a great story. And that was under Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa has been here since 1996. Deal was made, and they thought Tatis would be a perfect guy for the Cardinals. And he had some great years here in St. Louis. 1-2 pitch. Fouled back.
Harden looking for his first hit. Fun. Enjoying the fun.
Do players think about that much? I mean, we talk about it. I know the fans at home are thinking about it. Yeah, I remember where I was when Fernando Tatis hit those 2 grand slams. But from a player's perspective, is it talked about all that much? We'll talk about that in a moment.
I think it is.
You do?
Yeah, you know, I mean, try and remember things and kind of pump you up, especially when somebody reminds you. So Barton does join the hit parade as he gets his first hit right out the end of the bat. So Beltran kind of knows he's got to come in, but just couldn't catch up to it. As the Cardinals have 18 hits now to go along with their 12 runs.
And it brings in Brendan Ryan. Ryan with a walk today, run scored, a single, and RBI. Hitting .318. Cardinals with 18 hits, the Mets with 13. Mike Helling, our producer, enjoys these games.
Well, he
more hits the better.
Was lucky enough to produce a lot of those games in Colorado, and you know, got accustomed to 3- and 4-hour games, and that's what he likes best.
2-0.
Extremely disappointed whenever he gets a pitching duel.
And you are too. Myself, I prefer the pitching duel. You want the offensive explosion.
Sure I do.
2-0 pitch. 3-0.
Parnell came through the Mets system, selected the 9th round of 2005 first-year player draft out of Salisbury, North Carolina. You ever been to Salisbury?
No. I have been to North Carolina, though.
Salisbury is a little town in the middle that they used to give a broadcasting award. That's why I thought you would know about Salisbury.
Oh, yeah.
And went there and played, you know, Costas.
Here we
Costas
go.
made a fatal mistake.
Ding, ding. Could be a double play. They'll tag the runner there and out at first. Nice play at second. We head to the 9th, right on cue. 12-8 St. Louis.
Cards lead at 12-8 as we go to the 9th at Busch Stadium. Don't forget, coming up after the ball game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, Albert Pujols explodes. We'll break down his day. It's deja vu for Rick Ankiel. Plus, we'll have player reaction straight from the Cardinal clubhouse. Rick Horton, Pat Parris standing by. They're coming up after the game. For now, we send it back to Dan and Al. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Jim. As Gary Sheffield's been robbed a couple times in this game. He's 0 for 4. Ankiel made a great diving catch. Harden at third made a stab and threw him out. The newest member of the 500 home run club, 25th player to do so.
When you watch his bat, whether he's 20 or 40, you think this guy can hit. How quick it is.
Good breaking ball there.
You change speeds, you can get anybody out, right?
But yeah, that timing mechanism as he whips that bat back and forth, trying to get ready. trying to hold it back.
Al, you saw him in spring training. You were doing one of the spring training games, and Sheffield at that time was with Detroit. I'm sure at that time you and the folks in Detroit did not anticipate what was about to happen to him, and that's of course him winding up in New York. Our Hardy's prime cut of the game, Albert Pujols with a couple of home runs.
Well,
And Rick Ankiel as well.
You didn't expect him to get released because he was making $14 million
And that's the point.
a year. And gets released, the Mets pick him up. They pay a major league minimum, and Detroit pays the rest.
You being a former closer, here it is, Perez trying to finish this game off, and you know he'd love to be in tight situations, but how important is it for a guy like Perez to finish this kind of game off?
Well, to me, it's you play mental games. It's the 9th inning. You're going to be out there to get the third out. You're going to get those handshakes like you would if it was a save. But you know he doesn't have that much experience. And remember, he started the season at AAA, so it's important for him to go out there and realize this is a great opportunity for me to show that I can handle the 9th inning, and I can get back and and play and pitch, give him the ball in those close situations, whether it's the 9th or the 8th.
Walk to Church with 1 out here in the 9th. Let's turn now to our Budweiser player of the game, the Great American Lager, Budweiser. No surprise here. Pujols 3 for 4, couple of home runs, 3 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. Albert Pujols will play behind the runner at first, and we'll see a pinch hitter here.
This is Murphy, who started the first 2 games out in left field for the Mets.
They love his bat, and they love the fact that he'll take a ton of pitches. And now time is called and activity in the Cardinals bullpen. If you're Tony La Russa, this is the last thing that you want, is to see that some of your bullpen has to work. And here comes Tony now to the mound. Will he make a change? Yes, he will. And that'll be it for Chris Perez after the 1-out walk.
Well, Tony wanted to get those bullpen a little tune-up before the Cup Series.
Dennis Reyes. This will be his 9th appearance on the year. Record of 0-1. ERA of 3.38. Opponents hitting well below the 200 mark. And Tony La Russa will go to his bullpen here and brings in a lefty. And you've got a righty getting loose in the bullpen right now.
That's right. 5th pitcher employed by Tony. And you got one of your left-handed specialists comes in. You got a left-hander. Tatis is on deck. So barring a double play to end this game, you would assume Tony's going to bring in Mott to face the right-handed hitting.
And this will be a block, or is it? Yes, it is. Well, one umpire said yes. The other one, umpire, I'm not sure that he ruled a block, but that is the calling. The call is a block. That's Tim McClellan right there.
Well, see if he steps off. That's a balk.
And a strike on the outside corner. Daniel Murphy had a costly error in the first game of the series out in left field. He's had 3 of those for the Mets so far early season. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dennis Reyes was part of that crazy play, which he walked a man. Then there was the base hit, or rather the fly ball, excuse me, to right. Ludwig threw to third. Joe Thurston there applying the tag. Ball got away, and then a play at the plate at the home in which Beltran did not slide. That's 2 outs. Will Tony La Russa make a move here? Yes, he will. And that's it for Dennis Reyes. Mott coming in. Here's Jason Mottell to finish it off.
Well, Jason appeared for the 8th time and got a couple holds, but had a chance to come in this ball game, get the final out, and he can get the handshakes. 6th pitcher used today, and as the Cardinals have banged out 12 runs and 18 hits.
Here's Tatis. Final hope for the Mets.
Nobody warming up in the Cardinal bullpen.
One-oh pitch. One ball, one strike. Remember opening day, it was Jason Mott trying to finish the game off.
2 or 3 times was within 1 strike of a Cardinal victory. Turned into a sour defeat. He's pitched better since his 3rd outing.
Out of play, 2 strikes. And they're on their feet here at Busch Stadium.
Fastball in. He's got a piece of it. The one thing I've noticed about Mott is last year he was consistently 97, 98. This year, that velocity is way down. I mean, it's still 92, but that's a huge differential. And the pitch is straight. The slider, the pitch is improved on.
And he got him. The Cardinals sweep the Mets. Final 12-8 here at Busch. First 3-game sweep of the Mets since back in '04. U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up. The Cardinals win it 12-8, 18 hits this afternoon.
The game is over with a Cardinal victory and a 3-game series sweep of the Mets. The U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live afternoon edition coming up next here on Fox Sports Midwest. Your thoughts about this one?
This game a little different, Pat. This game was a slugfest today. The Cardinals got great offense from Pujols, Ankiel, and a bunch of others, and they came out on top. They got more hits than the other guys. This is a tough Mets team. Cardinals with a tremendous series.
Certainly was, and they took care of those Mets as they sweep them away today. More on that coming up. Plus, Game 3 matinee. We'll talk about that series sweep. And Rick Horton said yesterday Kyle Loesch will be an all-star come July. Could Loesch live up to Ricky's promise? Take you inside the Cardinal clubhouse for player reaction, as well as bringing you Tony La Russa's post-game comments. Happy birthday, William Shakespeare. Parting is such sweet sorrow, so stick around for U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.